Right back here at Central Texas. Meanwhile, people living in Temple are still getting catalytic converters stolen despite legislation that the state passed last year to deter these kinds of thefts.
Yeah, the state tried to make catalytic converters much more difficult to sell so that the criminals would no longer steal them for some fast cash. 6 News reporter Andrew Moore tells us how it's made a difference. Andrew?
Yeah, the state legislature passed a bill last year that required anyone selling a converter to a scrapyard to provide very specific information. It has slowed down these thefts. It has not stopped them.
So we wound up losing our bonus and everything for the whole year just because of the people stealing catalytic converters off our trucks.
This U-Haul in Temple got hit by thieves 7 times last year. Andrew Davis says they tried everything possible to keep the vehicles safe, but had no luck.
We spray painted the catalytic converters. I mean, they already had cages on them. We moved the trucks around our lot to make sure they're in proper lighting.
The thefts eventually stopped later in the year, right around the same time House Bill 4110 went into effect in September. That bill requires anyone selling converters to a junkyard to prove they own the vehicle, among other things. Temple PD says they saw 76 thefts before that went into effect and only 24 afterwards. Unfortunately, they are still happening.
Since the beginning of the year, we've taken 11 reports. 4 of those were in January, 7 of those were in February.
Temple spokeswoman Kiara Nolan told 6 News several of those thefts were near South 31st Street, several were at an apartment complex, and even one of our vehicles got hit. Nolan did have several safety tips to keep this from happening to you.
Always park in a well-lit area, perhaps look into a catalytic converter security device.
But as some people have discovered, a determined thief is hard to stop.
We have rebar cages over our catalytic converters, and so they were cutting through the rebar cages and taking the catalytic converters off, and sometimes they just leave the cage. Some of their tools would be left behind too as well.
And unfortunately, some of our older residents are still looking for a way to pay for one of these repairs. One resident at the Country Lane Seniors Apartments in Temple has been unable to drive since December and says her complex has been hit several times. Guys?